Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. In this video, Genevieve calls out Aaron. Okay, this story has kind of been ongoing, but we have yet to hear Genevieve's reaction to finding out the information that the man she was falling in love with and said she loved during Paradise actually had two different women back home. One of which was staying with him, I guess, while he was still on Paradise and came back to him after. And then the other lady didn't, and she's the one who's exposing the receipts to Reality Steve. If this story makes your head hurt, it's because it is kind of confusing, but we're going to get into it right now. Follow me on Instagram at DNeals. I'm also on podcast right after this. I'm on Patreon right after this, patreon.com/DaveNeal. And also Bachelor Rush Hour is my daily podcast roundup of all of the content at the end of the day. Go check that out anywhere you listen to podcasts. Now, before we get into this, I want to respond to fan mail, as we always do. Ben said to my last video about Gabby's TikTok, the amount of fluff in what's supposed to be a video about Gabby is out of control. So he spelled it wrong. You're not going to get me to watch your other stuff by annoying me and bombarding me with it. And I said, Ben, you must be new here because it's barrel scraping season, folks. There ain't much out there. So Gabby posted an 11-second video. I turn it into 9 minutes. Once you're done with the 11-second video part, Ben, get out of here. It's like a buffet, right? If you're only coming for the mozzarella sticks, don't stick around for the chicken cacciatore. But I still got to serve the chicken cacciatore. The thumbnail can't say all the different Bachelor news. No one's going to click on it. You get specific, and then you draw it out. All right, Ben? Okay, let's get into this story. So we shared plenty of aspects of this story already. Before Jen knew that Aaron had other women back home, she had already been kind of on the outs with Aaron. She said nothing relevant to the argument was cut out. What you saw is what happened. And then Aaron said, guys, truly not the convo at all. So you have two different people seeing two different things from the same convo. And we are the third party trying to be like, who's the right person here? So Reality Steve exposed that Aaron had other women back home. Game of Roses podcast said Aaron Clancy is one of the best players Paradise has ever seen because he had the ability to stay on the beach and command so much screen time and attention. Jen responded to that saying creating drama from nothing at someone else's expense who actually has a heart and isn't playing a game shouldn't be praised. That's sad. Now, Game of Roses didn't necessarily praise him. They just call it as they see it. They said, well, as far as what we see on the show goes, he's doing a good job. But the ex-girlfriends share their text messages. Here are two text messages from the ex-girlfriends, one of which I guess is still with Aaron, and one said, I'm honestly kind of shocked right now at how he pulled this off. And then the other said, that is such a lie. That is psycho. OMFG, what an a-hole. Wow, that is crazy to me. So manipulative. And those are the responses to them finding out that he said the other lady was just a friend to each lady. And now enters the third lady, Genevieve, who just didn't know all of that was happening. But here's her first response on the Almost Famous podcast. Had to say all that just to catch you guys up with what she had to think about the news. Because, I mean, imagine finding out you got broken up with and not really knowing why, or you might think you did something wrong. And then you find out not only was she broken up with, but there were two other ladies waiting in the wings.
Your actual breakup was truly bizarre.
I was silent. I was so blindsided. I'm rarely at a loss for words. Rarely. And I was at a loss for words. Like, I didn't even know what to say. It wasn't a good end to a relationship, that's for sure. I absolutely think that he had to leave the beach single.
So why do you feel like he needed to leave the beach single?
Aaron had a girlfriend before leaving for Paradise. And not only one, but two. And one of them wouldn't stay with him while he went on Paradise. And the other one in the messages was saying she's going to talk to him when he gets back about the situation. And so she was dating him and expecting him to come back to her. And that is why it makes so much sense why he had to break up with me.
So do you feel like he knew the entire time that he was going to date somebody there, stay in Paradise as long as he possibly could, and then break up with that person, aka you in this case, at the very last minute?
Yes.
Now, this is pretty wild stuff, because it's one thing if, like, she was in on it and everyone consensually was like, go on the show, get your Instagram followers, blah, blah, blah. But when you play with someone's emotions, I mean, bad things can happen from that. It's like to wound somebody else. We talk about collateral damage, creating a wake in a no-wake zone, and it kind of feels like Aaron drove a yacht through a little pond here.
I'm so happy this stuff came out because I have clarity now.
Yeah.
It helps it make sense. They were vacationing somewhere like last year. So the girl that he's still with, So they have been like boyfriend, girlfriend. I actually talked to the girl that isn't with him anymore. She's so sweet. It's kind of crazy hearing her stories. He was telling the same thing to both of them, that the other was a friend and not to worry about it. And they found out because they messaged each other on Instagram and they compared timelines and it all overlapped. But he did go and leave and come back to her. So, I mean, the plan worked. So it's just frustrating.
Have you talked to Aaron at least?
It was so shocking to me that he didn't reach out once, not once.
When did you find out?
When Reality Steve messaged me.
Unfortunately, this came out after the reunion show was filmed.
I would love to hear what he has to say about it, honestly. I do wish that I could have confronted him and just asked and maybe just gotten a little more clarity for why he would do that to someone. He didn't have to tell me he loves me. He didn't have to take it that far.
He didn't have to take it that far. Wow. Fascinating stuff. And of course, Zachary Reality says, I talked to Aaron and he told me he never had a girlfriend, which very much he could believe. But that's why we look at these text messages and you go, man, it's hard. When it's a he said, she said, it's one thing. When it's a he said versus time-stamped receipts of another story, then you start to get a little dicey. And this is what happens. Sometimes on the TV show, people are used to being able to get away with a system of, lying or deceit that might exist in the normal world, telling two different people different stories, whatever. And you're not used to having, hundreds of thousands of people analyzing tweets and this and that. When somebody gets scorned, like one of these two women clearly was, she's going to share the information. She's going to make it all burn down, or at least try that, try to. But as mentioned, I mean, Aaron's gotten off pretty much, without any backlash because this all happened after the reunion taped. But it actually probably is the biggest story that's happening this week. Let's listen further to what she had to say about possibly reconnecting with Aaron just to figure out like why she was treated this way.
So that's why she said it was okay for him to go to Paradise. Aaron was
let's go back to
September to Paradise, and then there was one that was a little bit more on again, off again. The one that was full on, she did say in the back and forth DMs that Reality Steve posted that she wasn't looking for something serious, which was interesting.
So one of the women might have been casual, and again, I'm not taking his side here. I'm just trying to find out. At which point does he think that he is in the right to play all these different sides? Like we had a few other people, I'm trying to think of the name, they slips my mind. We had people who's the guy dating DJ Bazoo? I can't even remember. And she was like casually dating a DJ, went on the show, didn't find love, and then was spotted with the DJ again. And it's like, well, people can be friends with benefit. Cassidy Tim Brooks had a friends with benefit right as she went on to the show. That's fine, but it just comes down to what was the promise made that you would come back to them. And if you did make a promise you would come back to somebody, then you would be stringing someone else along in the process.
So that's why she said it was okay for him to go to Paradise. Aaron was recently seen at this girl, his presumed girlfriend's birthday, with Jacob and Logan. Have you talked to either Jacob or Logan or heard from anybody who's been around this girl from the franchise?
No, I have not. I haven't talked. The only person I have talked to is the other girl that is not with him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess if you were defending Aaron here, you would say, well, all the information is coming from the woman who is no longer with him. So she's got the point of view where she's going to be jaded in some way. But then again, the text messages show that he was definitely manipulating both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't reach out to Logan or Jacob because we weren't together after. It more just was helping me gain clarity to what the happened on this season, to be honest. So yeah, I didn't reach out to Jacob or Logan. I really don't care to know about her. Yeah.
I know that when I saw you a couple months ago, I think the show is just starting to air, and I said, have you talked to Aaron at least? Because almost all of Bachelor in Paradise couples talk after the show just to like kind of get a better he said, she said version of their story, because there's so many people in our ears. And when you said you hadn't heard from him at all since he left that beach, I was astonished. And now I'm sure that's another thing that you have so much more clarity on.
Exactly. You said it perfectly. It makes so much sense looking back. That was so strange to me because we were like friends before, or friends, I don't know. It was so shocking to me that he didn't reach out once, not once. And again, now it makes sense. Like I just knew something was off. I knew there was a piece missing that I didn't know. And I found it out.
Yeah, and there she is. She found it out. I mean, look, Genevieve, like everyone else who goes on the show, it has her own sort of evolution of personal growth and all those things that happen. Clearly, you see a version of yourself you don't love when you look back at that, and you see all the neediness. And again, I'm not blaming Genevieve. I'm just saying everyone. They're on a beach with nothing to do. Yeah, sure, it's fun for a day or two. They don't have books to read. They're just doing squats and picking seashells. You know what I mean? They don't have their cell phones or a job or anything that brings them value. So they ruminate and they become the worst versions of themselves. But looking back on it, she realizes, oh my gosh, not only was I not who I wanted to be, but I was also being manipulated in a way. And the question, I guess, to ask Aaron would be, why? And what was his headspace at? Why was he active? I mean, because, maybe he really liked Genevieve. Maybe he did. Maybe he's able to compartmentalize these different relationships. It doesn't make it right if that's the case, but maybe that's what he's doing. All right, let me know what you guys think. Bachelor Rush Hour will be the podcast later this afternoon. We'll be chatting over there. Find that wherever you listen to podcasts. And I'll also be live on Patreon, patreon.com/Dave Neal. We'll talk to you in a little bit. Bye, everybody.